Rich Van Tassel back with you, continuing on with our Week 14 recap. Going to finish up the 1 o'clock slot games. The Minnesota Vikings 25-16 over the Jacksonville Jaguars. Vikings had to have this one. They're now 7-6, 3-4 on the road. Jacksonville, the terrible year continues. They're 2-11, 1-6 at home. Sam Bradford 24 of 34, 292 yards. 1 touchdown, no interceptions. Matt Asiata, 11 rushes, 37 yards, 3.4 yards per rush, 1 touchdown. We'll get into Asiata in a minute. Jerick McKinnon, 14 of 31, 2.2 yards per rush. Sam Bradford, 4 of 17, 4.3. The team continues to struggle running the ball without Adrian Peterson, 29 of 85, 2.9 yards per rush, 1 touchdown. Adam Thielen, top receiver, 4 for 101. Kyle Rudolph, 4 for 60. Stephon Diggs, 3 for 55. Asiata lost a fumble. It was in the goal line. It was critical. Almost cost Minnesota the game. Sam Bradford fumbled once and recovered a fumble. They did have 4 sacks. Brian Robinson had 1. Everson Griffin had 2. Danielle Hunter had another 1. All those guys are having a solid season for what is a good defensive line. Cordell Patterson returned to kick 53 yards. Kai Forbath 4 for 4 in his field goals. Blake Bortles, 23 of 37, 257 yards, 1 touchdown, no interceptions. TJ Yeldon, 17 carries, 59 yards, 3.5 yards per rush. Blake Bortles, 3 of 13, 4.3 yards per rush. Corey Grant, 4 of 13. The team altogether 24 of 85, 3.5 yards per rush. So they rushed better than the Vikings today. Had the same amount of yards, but on 5 less carries. If Jacksonville could have done something like this throughout the season, they'd probably be better off. They still rushed 13 less times than they threw the ball, though. Their offense really didn't come along at all this season. That's why they're 2-11. Marquise Lee, 5 receptions, 113 yards. Brian Walters, 4 for 31. He had a touchdown. TJ Yeldon, 7 of 31. Malik Jackson recovered a fumble. They had no sacks, no interceptions. Jason Myers, 3 for 5 in his field goal. So critical when you lose a game by 9, you miss 2 field goals. You make 2 of those, and the conditions were not bad in Jacksonville, then it's a 3-point game going down the stretch. So Jacksonville, as we've discussed, the year's completely gotten away from them. They put a ton on Blake Bortles throwing the ball, and the running game has not been enough. Minnesota, Sam Bradford, they at least opened up the playbook a little bit. The running game continues to be a problem. They can't turn the ball over, obviously, in the goal line situation, which they did. They had 2 fumbles. One of them was recovered by Minnesota. The other, they cost them points. Still in the playoff race, like we said, as bad as it was, they've just got to figure it out and move forward from here. I'm not sure what the division would entail. I really don't want to try to get into this because I don't have that much time, but they play the Packers again, so that's going to be interesting. They don't have Detroit. Remember, that situation, the wild card is done, or not the wild card, the tiebreaker with Detroit is finished. They can't do anything about it. Detroit's going to have it nonetheless, so that's something that they're going to have to worry about, but they can't really worry about. They just have to take it one game at a time at this point and continue to move forward and hope that they get a stumble here or there. Remember, they beat the Giants, but they've got to make sure their offense continues to play better as well. That's something to certainly look at. Houston, 22-17 over the Indianapolis Colts. Houston getting a big road win. They're up to 7-6. Indianapolis drops to 6-7. Indianapolis is going to have a hard time in that division now. Brock Osweiler, 14 of 24, 147 yards, no touchdowns, 1 interception. So he continues to struggle, but he wasn't necessarily terrible in this game. Lamar Miller quietly putting together a good season. 21 carries, 107 yards, 5.1 yards per rush. Alfred Blue, 6 for 55, 3.4 yards per rush. Hakeem Hunt, 1 of 19. The team ran the ball very well. 41 carries, 185 yards, 4.5 yards per rush. DeAndre Hopkins, 2 for 33 receiving. CJ Fedorowicz, 3 for 32. Ryan Griffin, 2 for 23. How did DeAndre Hopkins have such a good season last year with a bunch of average quarterbacks, and he's still struggling with Brock Osweiler this year, who's not playing well, but at least he's had a quarterback, the same guy every week. That's something to keep an eye on. Whitney Merciless recovered a fumble. I believe that was on a big play by Jadeveon Clowney. Alfred Blue had a fumble. It was not lost. Clowney had the sack, forced the fumble. That was big. Andre High, Quentin Demps both had interceptions. Nick Novak 5 for 5 in his field goals. For the Colts, Andrew Luck 24 of 45, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Frank Gore, 10 carries, 41 yards, 4.1 per rush. Andrew Luck, 2 for 32. The team altogether 15 of 83, 5.5 yards per rush. T.Y. Hilton, 9 receptions, 115 yards, 1 touchdown. Jack Doyle, 5 for 55. Frank Gore, 2 for 33. He had a touchdown. Andrew Luck lost a fumble. They had 2 sacks. Hakeem Ayers had an interception. And Adam Vinatieri was 1 for 2 in his field goals. That was a big miss, obviously, in this game. Indianapolis, they didn't give up many sacks. There are just so many holes outside of Andrew Luck. Their secondary did the job, but then again, the pass offense for Houston's not great. Houston is running the ball very well. That's something to certainly keep an eye on. That's going to keep them competitive. That defense is really coming along. They came along towards the end of last year, made some plays. We saw that was big for them all last season. This year, though, you were expecting more with their offense, but it looks like they're going to rely on running the ball and hopefully keeping things going with their offense just being average and their defense moving forward. They have the lead in the division. Indianapolis, another tough year. Expect Chuck Pagano to be on because I don't think they're going to make the playoffs. Arizona losing a critical one. They came back in this game, but then they lost on the last-second field goal, 26-23. They dropped to 5-7-1. Playoffs really took a hit in this one. Miami 8-5, 6-1 at home. Miami certainly in the thick of things in the AFC wild card. Carson Palmer 18 of 33, 145 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. David Johnson 20 for 80, 20 carries, 80 yards, 4 yards per rush. J.J. Nelson at a 56-yard touchdown run. Team all together, and Kerwin Williams 3 carries for 34 yards. So a team that has a 56-yard run and a guy with 3 carries for 34 yards, 11.3 yards per rush, only averages 6.5 yards per rush, 27 for 175. A little surprising there. Jermaine Gresham, top receiver, 5 for 45. David Johnson, 5 for 41. Michael Floyd, 2 for 18. Britton Golden and J.J. Nelson both had receptions of 9 and 8 yards for touchdowns, respectively. Fumbles were critical in this game. It was pouring down to Miami. Alex Okafor recovered a fumble. John Wetzel, Rodney Gunter also recovered a fumble. Carson Palmer, 3 fumbles, lost one of them, recovered one of them. He's been struggling this year with turnovers. David Johnson also lost a fumble. They had 1 sack. It was a team sack. 1 interception by Marcus Cooper. Chandler Cantu 1 for 2 in his field goals. For the Dolphins, Ryan Tannehill, 15 of 20, 195 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 interceptions. He was knocked out of this game with a knee injury. Let's see how serious it is. Matt Moore came in 3 for 5, 47 yards. Jay Ajayi, 20 carries for 48 yards, 2.4 yards per rush. He's been coming back down. Ryan Tannehill, 5 for 20. The team altogether 31 of 83, 2.7 yards per rush. Something to keep an eye on. Miami was running the ball very well. Points this season, it started to really taper off. Jarvis Landry, 4 receptions, 103 yards. Kenny Stills, 6 for 97. He had a touchdown. Jay Ajayi, 1 for 15. Like we said, fumbles were an issue. Spencer Paysinger recovered a fumble. Terrence Feed recovered a fumble. Ryan Tannehill, 3 fumbles, lost one of them, recovered one of them, same as Carson Palmer. Jarvis Landry lost a fumble. Jay Ajayi fumbled and recovered it. They had 3 sacks. Cameron Wake had 1. A team sack was the other, and Andre Branch also had a sack. Corey Rambo had an interception, along with Mike Hull. Sorry about that. Andrew Frank's 1 for 1 in his field goal. So Arizona, hey, it was impressive how they came back in this game. They were down 23-9, were able to force it back. You got Seattle getting crushed right now by Green Bay. A win here would have been big, would have put them right back in the playoff picture. But even if Seattle loses, it's going to be very difficult for Arizona now. That was a crushing loss coming back to get into it. Miami, like we said, keep an eye on that running game. The Ryan Tannehill injury, certainly 2 issues moving forward. The running game, like we said, has been good. It's started to taper off. It looks like it could be serious with Tannehill. We'll have to see, but they are right in the thick of things in the wild card race. It'd be a shame, 3 games left, to have Tannehill out because he's really starting to come along. Carolina beating the Chargers 28-16. San Diego drops to 5-8. Carolina improves to 5-8. Phillip Rivers for the Chargers, 21 of 39, 236 yards, 2 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. Kenneth Farrell running 16 of 55. Melvin Gordon 3 for 5. The team 20 of 58. Gordon was knocked out of this game. It looked a lot more serious than it appears to be. Dontrell Illman, top receiver, 6 receptions, 71 yards, 1 touchdown. Terrell Williams, 2 for 68. Antonio Gates, 5 for 61. Hunter Henry also had 2 receptions for 13 yards and a touchdown. Rivers has struggled with fumbles as well. He lost 2 of them. His turnovers has been a problem this year. They had 2 sacks. Joey Bosa had 1 of them. He's really come along. Travon Reed had an interception. It looked like he should have gotten the touchdown that he returned it all the way back. It was like 95 yards on the return. They marked him down, though, where he basically had the interception. That was a big play in this game. I thought he took it back all the way. Josh Lambo made his only field goal for the Panthers. Cam Newton, 10 of 27. Boy, his numbers have not been good this year. 160 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Jonathan Stewart, 24 carries, 66 yards, 1 touchdown. Cam Newton, 8 of 31. 3.9 to Jonathan Stewart's 2.8 per rush. The team altogether 38 of 126, 3.3 yards per rush. Greg Olsen, the top receiver, 4 for 87. Devin Funchess, 2 for 33. He had a touchdown. Ted Ginn Jr., 2 for 21. Kelvin Benjamin, 1 of 11. Paul Sololier and Wes Horton both recovered the fumbles. They had 5 sacks of Phillip Rivers. Mario Edison, 1. Ryan Delaire, 1. Kawan Short, 2. A.J. Klein had 1. Daryl Worley, Shaq Thompson, Kirk Coleman all had interceptions. So Rivers turned the ball over 5 times today. And Graham Gano was 4 for 4 in his field goal. So Carolina beating a lesser team like you had, well, San Diego came in with the better record. Coming into this year, Carolina would have been the better team. But Carolina, showing the team that they probably should have been early on in the season. Maybe they wouldn't be in the situation they are now. San Diego, you see them falling off a little bit. Those turnovers have been an issue. If Rivers was better with them, they would probably be in a better position than they are now. But then again, 5-8, I really wasn't expecting that moving forward. So give them credit, but it looks like they're really starting to become the team we expected more of at the beginning of the year, and that's not a compliment by any means. So, all right, we'll be back in a little bit, give you the recap of the 4 o'clock games when they go final. Of course, I'll be up watching the Cowboy game tonight, so be sure to stay tuned for all that later on. And remember, we appreciate all subscriptions. We'll see you in a little bit. Thank you.